Hi everyone, just want to do a quick check before we get back to everything, and I've just found a fault in my setup, so yeah. How's the audio? I just want to know if I need to change the levels or anything. Sorry, I'm wearing these specs because they've started feeling like a bit of a safety blanket in the studio. I feel all special and protected by real glass, yeah. Anyway, let me know how the audio is, and if I need to change it, then I'm going to put you on hold whilst I just clear my thoughts and then come back to you bang on 6. God, I'm trying to follow the, oh dear, I've just seen myself. Go on guys, am I 20 seconds behind you or are you 20 seconds behind me? Any audio at all? Oh, sounds good. Thanks, Rob. Cheers, mate. Kaylee, can you answer me on that? We've not got that clip in. And how are we on all the cameras, guys? Just let's check. So we've got this camera. Audio looks to be all right there. This camera, showing me holding my cheapo mouse and knackered mouse pad. And then a close-up of said, ooh. Yeah, so audio all good on all of them? Yeah? Is that all right? Oh, that's really annoying. Every time I, just looking for my mouse, it's in my hand. Every time I change something, my YouTube window with all the chat vanishes. All good, thanks Pete. Right, so, well there's plenty in. Shall I just get started now or shall we leave it for those that are waiting for a reminder? In fact we will, because I just need to, I need to go and have a comfort break. So I'm going to put, which would you rather have, the stream starting soon sign or the technical difficulties with the audio? Come on, which do you want? Let's have a look in the chat. Yeah, Leona, it's weird. I think some of the webcams are using their own camera as well as the rather expensive Trantec mic that I'm using. Right, yeah, I think I'm going to have to play with this audio during the course of the week. Didn't want to do it this week because, sorry, there you are. Didn't want to do it this week because we'd got the Invade and this, and I just didn't want to start messing around in OBS and ruin everything. So yeah, I'm just going to go have a comfort break and I'll be back with you shortly. And just so you know, I want this to be a bit more of a discussion tonight because I'm pretty new at this. I have got background that means I do know a bit about it, and I've done a bit of research over the years and made some notes this afternoon, which I'll keep referring to. But yeah, I want it to be a discussion. We've got a great wealth of knowledge in this community. Let's pull it all together, and then the noobs like I am and like Rob, you know, will learn quicker and we'll get there faster, and that's what we all want. Right, see you in a bit, guys. Good evening all. Am I still clipping or are we alright? I can turn it down a little. Yeah, welcome to the live tonight over at Making a Better Life. If you've not met me before, my name's Di, but looking at the comments, everyone knows me. Yeah, working out wet wood. So, I say working out because I'm still getting my head around it. I know we've got some really experienced turners in the chat, so tonight, instead of actually turning anything after last week's disaster, and the fact that I've got some commissions that I need to run across the lathe, so I've cleaned up all the wet wood and cleaned off the lathe, ready for doing those over the coming days. So, I'm just going to glance at the chat. Excuse me leaning in, no one wants to see a close-up of my receding hairline. Hiya Wayne, FKO, nice to see you. Gav, Robert Dolman, who else? I've seen Leon Rain, Rob CP of course. Great live earlier, Rob. You do great, and I absolutely identify with you on why you're critical of yourself, or rather why you're constantly like, why am I doing this? You know, how can I do this right? It's great, and it's all about learning, and that's what we love. So, are we after 6? No, we've still got a minute to go. So yeah, what's everyone up to? What's people got on the lathe at the minute? Anything? Nothing? Mark Pritchard, hiya. Mike Yu, good to see you. Doug Miller. Oh, I've just seen my cousin come in. All right, Jane, nice to see you. Thanks for the Instagram thing, by the way. Yeah, so Kaylee, say hello to Jane. Sorry, this is closest our family's been for since, when would it? It was New Year's Day at your house, Jane, weren't it? That was brilliant. Can't show the family mascot on YouTube. But I am going to get on with that when I can, you know, force myself to do it. Ask me privately if anyone wants to know what that's all about. Right, so it's 6 o'clock, so people should have had their reminders, or if YouTube's playing up like it was in your live earlier, Rob, they'll get their reminders next Thursday. So yeah, welcome everybody. I'm Di at Making a Better Life, and I'm saying all of this because this video is going to stay up and maybe some new wood turners will see it. So first things first, housekeeping. This is it's a discussion, and you know, don't take it as gospel. You go out and do your own research and learn, and anything I say, you know, I'm saying it because it's what I believe to be right, and you know, do your own research. Don't just trust a stranger on the internet, especially one with a face like this. Anyway, do excuse me, it's not the COVID. I'm going to bring you over onto this handle and get my keyboard where I can still use it. And I'm just going to start bringing in things that I've turned wet over well, it's quite a period. Some of these were done quite a while ago, and just discuss the wood movement. The first thing I'm going to do actually is, I'm going to look at my notes and discuss water in wood. So a good thing for this would be this. So yeah, let's have a closer look. So here we are, end of the log. And there's two types of water in this when it's cut from the tree. There's free water and bound water. So free water is the liquid that the living plant was using to transport nutrients. And that, as we've seen Emma's straws, which I've not got, it literally is like straws. Long chains of cells that run up the tree and transport water. It occurs slightly differently in the sapwood to the heartwood. But nonetheless, that's the free water. So you cut your tree down, or you cut a limb off. Immediately that's done, providing that your humidity in the area is not 100%, that wood is going to start. Are you from Atlantis? Maybe you're from Atlantis. Not many trees there though. That wood is going to start losing its free water straight away, and it's going to be affected by things like It's going to be affected by things like the moisture content of the environment, orientation, be it vertical or horizontal. Gravity is going to affect the water that's in there. It's going to be affected by the species of wood. The cell structure in wood is always, you know, there's so many variations when you look at the minutiae of it, and it is tiny. There is so many slight variations that affect how water transmits. I mean, between hardwoods and softwoods tend to be transverse porous, so the water can move this way along the wood. It still moves up and down, but it has to go across between the cells because they're closed at the end, whereas hardwood tend to be open and the water moves more just linear. Where was I? So yeah, there's the next thing to consider is something you might have read of called FSP, which is fibre saturation point. That's the point at which, if I'm not, yeah, let me just check my notes, sorry. Yeah, fibre saturation point is the point at which any moisture after that is the free moisture. So once you've lost all of the moisture that the plant was transporting and you're just down to the moisture contained within the actual cell walls and membranes, then you're down to the fibre saturation point. So how does this apply to us turners? Well, if I cut a tree down, immediately I've got to think about what's going to start to happen now. If I have time, I will split it along the pith as I have here and when I can, take the pith out. We all know that, we all know how we treat the wood. This is more of a discussion about why it's doing it and how it affects the items that we turn. So let me just quickly rattle off the rest of this then. I can't read my own handwriting, I'm ever so sorry guys. Yeah, there's an equilibrium point that you reach. So you've lost all of that free water. Your bound water then starts reducing depending on the atmosphere it's in. So you will lose moisture quicker in a warmer, less humid environment than you will in a high humidity environment. So in your house, it's going to lose moisture quicker. Under cover, it's going to lose moisture quicker than outside. So that can apply to things like leaving logs out in the rain until you can process them, and then covering them once you start to process them. You can really control that initial period losing its free water by just leaving it out in the rain and leaving it in a particularly humid area. It won't stop that water leaving, but it's trying to reach equilibrium. So if it's in a wet environment, that water's going to leave slower. But yeah, we've reached the equilibrium and we've taken it into a drier environment and it starts losing the water containing the fibres. So then what happens is it starts losing that moisture from the outside and from the end grain, and that creates compression in the centre and we get checking. Like we all know about that again. I think now I ought to really say, is there anyone that could add something at this stage, or is there anyone that's got any questions at this stage? I'm just going to look at the chat. No, you're all just having a laugh. Wood never dries unless it's rotten. It just equalises 200 years later. But yeah, exactly, Pete. It just equalises with its environment. You can see all these cracks on this one are radial. What happens is as the moisture is lost first and faster in the sapwood, compression occurs in the centre, which moves slower. And as it moves at the outside, these radial cracks appear. Which is why, as I'll show later, end grain turning, you know, that's where you've got a big consideration. Right, no one's got anything else to say, so just let's look at some turned pieces. So I'm going to start with successors, I think. All right, let's start with a moderate success. So yeah, this was a 12-inch diameter oak blank, and I chased checks and chased checks until it ended up however wide that is, 6-7 inches maybe. It's terrible. It is cracked somewhere if I remember rightly. It's not finished well. I had some tear out, or it may actually be glue staining there that dealt with the crack. However, let's look close. There we are. I managed to get nice thin uniform walls, and beyond the initial crack, which was my fault for sanding too hard and creating heat, it hasn't cracked. And I don't know if we can see there, but it's still pretty round. So I cut this oak, well, I led the ground team when this oak came down, which was, what was that really hot day? Was it June or July? I got a terrible sunburn. But yeah, we cut that down, and it was just left outside for perhaps 3 weeks. And when I got to it, like I say, the blank got smaller and smaller and smaller. There is another rough turned companion piece to this, covered in glue and still with a tenon on the inside, where I managed to hang on to a little bit more of it. Let me just focus you there, sorry guys. Hang on to a little more of the wood. So again, this was from a much larger blank, but I chased and chased cracks until I got a decent blank with a relatively uniform wall thickness. I was concerned leaving all this in the centre that I might get it checking, but it's got lots of coats of glue on, and so far we're all right. So yeah, just to recap, rough turning process. You know, get it round, turn it. Uniform wall thickness is the important thing. So as the wood flexes, you know, it's got support all the way around. Come on, guys, I could do with people weighing in with comments. Right, so that's a success, that one, because we turned it very thin and uniform. It didn't crack. Right, what's logically next? This is a commission piece that hasn't been picked up yet. Sycamore that very lightly spaltered, having spent a week on the garage floor. It came straight in the garage, this, after having been cut on a hot day. And yeah, the faults I could pick out with this are, there's a little bit of pith because it was from a crotch that has sunken in slightly, but there's some beautiful chatoins that the camera's never going to do justice. And just let me focus this. I do apologise that I'm crossing in front of the camera. There you go. But there's some absolutely gorgeous grain in this, and that ever such light little pale green and brown. I'm sorry I'm getting all passionate about wood again. There you can see some of the pith issue there. But yeah, this again, and its sister bowl. Just focus. Rob, I nearly said one of your words then. This and its sister bowl have remained round, and I believe one of the things I've done to achieve that is, and also as a design feature, is I've left this rim thicker. I don't know if I can quite show it there, but it's 9 to 11 mil I'd say on the rim, and then it drops to about 4 to 6 for the rest of the bowl, save the foot. And having this little bit more weight in the rim has given us a little tension so that we've not moved out quite as much. It could just as lightly induce cracking, I'm sure. But here it has been a success. I like this one. Shame to see it part. I'm now going to go and get the companion to this. And can someone chime up in the chat and kind of say what they... Oh, thank you, Jane. Yeah, if someone could like chime up and give me a bit more input or ask a question so that I can focus on something specific, because my preparation hasn't been fantastic. Yeah, the sister piece to that sycamore is this. Let's, again, lovely spalting, couple of captive rings. I know how pointless they are, Pete, but you know, it's for a married couple, you know, it'd be nice for a wedding or something. But again, turned wet, turned first actually this, very, very wet. Uniform wall thickness has kept this from warping too much. Microwave dried. Now, I had no idea I was going to find bark inclusions when I started cutting into this. I did, and the only unfortunate thing, and something I've learnt from on this specific turning, is do try and avoid your pith remaining in your stem, because that's going to be a real fail point now. There it is supported with some CA, but it worries me. It's not ideal. The base I've undercut. In fact, if we get the light behind that, I don't know if you can't quite see it. Have I got a torch to hand? Let me grab a torch. Yeah, so you can see I've undercut that. Oh, look at that spalting. So the base is very thin, so the wood flexes as opposed to cracking. Hi Jennifer. Question. Do you always turn wet wood or do you leave it to dry for a year or two? I've not been turning a year or two, Ian. I intend to, at the minute, because of the situation the world's in. I've not been able to get rid of a lot of items that are destined for the car boot. Sorry, let me turn this torch off before I have an epileptic fit. Yeah, so my storeroom's full of things destined for the car boot, and subsequently I've not been able to properly plan. We were then gifted, our charity was gifted a load of dry bowl blanks and spindle blanks, so they're taking up a lot of room. I don't need to really worry about dry wood for a while now. But the plan is, yes, the plan is to start processing wood as I have access to it through the tree surgeons I work with. I would like eventually our charity that I'm not going to go into tonight, there's plenty of information about that online. And any of you that saw Richard's Invade the other night, I'm happy with that. I watched it back. I don't like seeing myself on camera, but I think I covered quite well what we do. But yeah, ultimately it'd be nice if we could produce good quality bowl blanks, both to support the clients and the charity, buy wood for us to use, and bowl spindle blanks or even flat stock boards. Also to sell, to give a revenue stream to the charity. But like I say, we're small, we'll work towards that. Right. Anyone got any clue where I was up to? Because I haven't. I've lost it now. Yeah, so key things are get it thin where you can get it thin. You will, when you turn completely wet, unless you sand after, you will find ridges and bumps where the sapwood and hardwood have moved differently, or the growth rings have moved differently. Yeah, thanks Tommy. Yeah, that confirms to me that giving it that thicker rim leaves a bit of support. I must admit I do like wet turning, but I'm constantly at the moment looking for ways of refining the process so that I can be efficient, because it's not just about me, it's about making a better life as a whole. So let's look at some other bits. Again, all of this is wet turned. This I actually turned during one of Emma's, I think it was either one of the live streams, or it was, excuse me, focusing the camera again. It was either a live stream, or I think it might have been a Zoom meeting, because I was showing people. But it was a totally sopping wet beach bowl, and I'd had a catch which had ripped some bark off and ripped down into the wood, and I ended up using a Dremel to create a faux live edge, and if that's even remotely in focus, yeah, I'm quite happy with it. But yet again, quite thick this one, but uniform. I'd say 8 to 11 mil thick. It hasn't gone oval yet. It got a little bit of microwave drying and needed refinishing after. I'm noticing now there's some minute cracks in the finish. I can't remember what I finished this with. I think this might be microcrystalline and a buff. We'll be able to tell, because usually when I buff things I catch them with the edge of the wheel. And yeah, I think this is buffed. So, but again, that uniform thickness, the wood's being able to stabilise easier there. Right, failures. If you want to look at it that way, I don't look at it that way, because I really like stuff like this. So this was on Instagram a while back because of, and I'm going to take you straight, I'll just put you on a different camera for a second so you can see what I'm doing. I'm just, it's just out of shot, let me show you. I've got the Canon over here for people that use OBS. If you've got a Canon digital SLR or other Canon cameras, you may find, if you do your research, that it can work with OBS. Some of you remember a photograph of this bit of grain, if I can get it focused, because it's just the nicest bit of swirly grain I've seen in years. Yeah, so and a little inclusion there. I really wanted to make something out of this, and this was actually a slab off the outside of a board, and it's quite thin, but look at how she walked. Let's see if we can get you to see. I purposely thought I'm going to do a really thin rim and see what happens there. It did have a crack, a minute crack. Again, me being too heavy-handed while sanding, but it really, I don't know if it's picking it up there, but it really has warped in that orientation. Not this much, that is the design of the bowl. Can we see it on this camera? Yeah, we can see it better on that camera. So yeah, it really did warp quite a bit, that, but I love it. I kind of like that little bit of life and movement and, you know, age it adds to a bowl. I did another one out of one of these slabs and it ended up much more oval than this. I'm sorry about the focus issues, I'm still getting used to this setup. Oh Rob, I'm as bad as you with the apologies, aren't I? Bless you. So yeah, clearly going this thin on the rim and it not being uniform to the rest of the bowl. The rest of the bowl's uniform to itself, but this rim is thinner. It has warped. It has cupped slightly throughout the entirety of the bowl. I don't know if that's visible, but more visible on the rim. And I liked it so much, I've repeated that on something I did the other day, but I'm not showing you that yet. Yes, Wayne, absolutely, mate. I'm absolutely up for a meet up at some point. In fact, if I get a load of wood in again at a time that I'm unable to process it all, I might just turn up at your doorstep and see if you want some of it. So, right, now we've got a bit more of a direct comparison of issues here. I turned this out of a laburnum, me and Ollie, a friend from our woodturning club, cut down. And it was, I think it's only my second goblet, and my first wet turned anything. I love laburnum. And so, let's just see what we want to see. Yeah. Oh, that's in focus, lovely. So yeah, problems we had here. I lost my bark, so the live rim's not as impressive as it was, but the head's cantered to one side. It is slightly oval. Although that's the live edge, you ninny. Yeah, but what I didn't do, just for scale, what's that? Maybe 7 or 8 mil there. My first captive ring. I'm happy with this in general, but we did get a crack, and that's because I turned the base pretty flat and pretty chunky. I put a picture of this up everywhere because I was really happy with it, and on our club Facebook page, Rick Dobney, who's a pro turner, does some amazing stuff with aluminium. I really want to go at that. Lovely guy. He just said, try dishing the bottom out like you would see on the bottom of a champagne flute or something, a heavily dished bottom, and get it thin and even, as close as you can to the centre of the stem. So I did that on Poison Chalice Mark II. And I also went a little thinner. I went down to about 5 or 6 mil there. Slightly more dainty cup, but again, uniform thickness, and it didn't warp, and I managed to get my pith just off of centre as well, so we didn't pick the pith up in the rest of the stem. Winner winner chicken dinner. Hi Richard. Yeah, 2 captive rings. This one I did live edge. I really don't know how I feel about this. I know how you feel about it, Pete, but I'm not cutting it off. My mother likes this one. And yeah, a little bit of detail at the bottom, something to hook the rings into for who knows what reason. Not my best finish, but another captive. But there we go. We dished it. I left it a little thicker at the rim again, same principle as, was it Tommy was saying he uses, and dished it as much as I dare. And other than in the microwaving process, some utterly minute little cracks that we're not going to see here, it survived. So this must have been, well, my moisture meter won't measure beyond 32%, and it wasn't measuring, it was just saying over limit. So yeah, totally wet, dried out in the microwave, and I think the last time I checked it was reading something like 8, which is about stable. It's been in the house for 6 months and it's not moved at all, so happy with that. So thin and even works, thick chunky not so much. And that brings us on to the piece I turned last week, the I say piece, abortion. Yeah, that went in the same way. I left it too thick, and this was what I was hoping to get to. I was hoping to get it in the microwave and get it to blow up like this, which is what happened, just to demonstrate things will go radially on spindle turnings from an area that's too thick. Oh, look at the catch I got though. What a moron. This is why I'm not turning this week. I'm a bit stressed with other stuff at the minute, and focusing on pressing all these buttons and doing lathe stuff results in lapses in judgment and concentration. But it does make a really pretty mushroom, I must admit. Yeah. Just having a look at chat, guys. Yes, Pete, I know. Captive scrap wood. I kind of, you know, when I was really little, I used to go to the place that this shirt's from, Abbeydale Industrial Hamlet, before my dad even started working for them. And there'd be green wood turners there and the like. And I first saw a captive ring, and I just remember at 5 or 6 years old going, ow, what, eh, what? How's he done, where's the glue? And I don't know, yeah, they're irritating, they kind of don't have a purpose. I've seen them used well in like carvings, more like Welsh love spoons. No, that's not what you think. You know, to symbolise the betrothal, etc., etc., or to use for hanging something that's meant to be hung and not used. But yeah, they are scrap wood, Pete, let's face it. But I kind of like to try and suspend adulthood for a second and go back to that childhood amazement of, wow, look at that. But you know, it's like getting behind the magician's curtain. Once you've seen how it's done, loses its interest. Yeah, again, when you know leaving things thick is going to make them crack, you can do it on purpose. I wanted a cracked mushroom, so I live edge turned one, and it cracked just like I expected overnight. This hasn't been in the microwave, this one. Sorry, I'm just trying to switch camera. Yeah, this hasn't been in the microwave. I just left that out, and the next day it was a 1mm crack, and then it's opened up to about 6mm, and I love it. I absolutely love it. And everything that went on that night in Emma's chat is absolutely perfectly displayed by this one, I think. It's Copper Beach, this. Turned totally wet, bit of glitter on the bark. I used a couple of stains and a different one for underneath to demonstrate the gills. I like a bit of amateur mycology, and this is, I love it. I just love it. What's that you're saying, Pete? Yeah, you've, yeah, if you don't like them, give them to someone else or sell them. Captive rings. Right, that's the mushroom. It is a well, fungi. Hey, fungi. Right, so I've kind of done my show and tell on those pieces. Yeah, what I did this week was I tried to get a bowl to blow up. I did everything kind of wrong. I made stress points by making it relatively thin at the base, but then thicker as I rotate, as I follow these curves. So I did a rather unpleasant OG. It's a little too steppy, to be fair, but it means we're thick here, and we're thick at that part of the rim, and then we're thin on the edge. And this is also, it's a branch collar, this, so this would have been on the side of the tree with a branch coming out this way. And no significant warpage, but we have got quite a bit of cracking, so let's have a look at that. Ah! Sorry. I nearly knocked something off the lathe for the millionth time today. So yeah, we got quite a bit of cracking, and it is all radial cracking because of that limb that came off from the centre there. You know, and up close like this, they look terrible. But, you know, when you get just a picture of it as a whole, they kind of add to it. It's like, particularly with the live edge that I've kept, for me, it just you know, I wasn't sure at first, wasn't sure at first, but then I looked at it and I've just put a coat of food safe oil on it, and it's kind of got that, been out in the sun, had liquids in it, and then dried out and cracked and split, and just been around for a while, look, and I'll probably drop it a few times before I either decide to give it away or sell it, and it'll just add character. So yeah, if you want things to crack, make them crack. And I was really hoping for something catastrophic here. I did support the centre with a bit of super glue, which I think stopped the pith completely letting go. Yeah, thank you, Gav. It's one thing I've found interesting. Let's see if we can get in on it. Is let me see. Focus you. So now I'm struggling here. Give me a minute. Right, yeah. So from this rim, the cracks propagate down and into the centre of the bowl. Now look at the grain structure. You know, you can see the growth rings and they're quite wide and open. And that cracking propagates all the way down, though not connecting right to the pith. Now, if I rotate the bowl, we've got cracks on, we haven't got any cracks on the edge. And those edges are pretty uniform, but look at the grain. We've got cracks on the bottom there. Now admittedly, yeah, it's up the side wall, but the other side's got cracks up the side wall. This hasn't, so I'm making a connection there that this rippled grain is less likely to crack. Anyone want to call me out? Is that right or wrong? What do we reckon? Is rippled grain inherently stronger because of its grain structure and less likely to crack? And can you think of a way of incorporating that in designs? This bowl's made me think that. Maybe I can. So, I can't see how many people are in. 26, 15 likes. Yeah, please go over and hit that if you can, guys. If you're not subscribed, subscribe, please. What time are we on? Let's have a look. 6:30. I'm kind of running out of steam a little bit, guys. I'd like to interact with you in the chat if possible for a bit longer, and if people want to just carry on chatting, that's all good with me. But yeah, I kind of I've spent a lot of years thinking about drying wood for flat work, and you know, I wouldn't say it's simple, but it's rigid. You know, slice your boards with an allowance, seal your end grain, stack with stacking boards between, keep it flat under cover with air circulation if you're air drying it, you know, if you're kiln drying it, the same, but there's then considerations on bacterial growth, etc, etc. Excuse me looking shifty, but the chat's down there. And I think my chat's frozen or everyone's gone home, which I don't mind. Yeah, so I thought about flat work for a lot, and now I've got into turning, I'm seeing it in a completely different light. I'm seeing wood movement as, you know, it's not just breadboard ends on this, you know, this floating panel I need to put some curve cuts in to allow for expansion and contraction. You know, oh, shall I do a draw bore here, or, you know, that kind of consideration. Great, and they do inform your design and love it. But now you're looking at an individual piece, and as I'm spinning it and cutting it, I'm thinking, what's happening here? Where's this going? Is it wanting to crack there and take a little bit more off? And you know, that's something I'm really hoping to explore in my wood turning journey, is exactly how I can incorporate wood movement into my designs, and also nail the process. Because, you know, if I can produce really nice, good quality dry blanks for us to use and for you guys, like I said, those blanks will be, if and when we do have a facility to sell them, they will be available for sale to those that can afford it. and just for carriage cost to those that are in a difficult position. How exactly we'll work that out in the future, I don't know, but I do want to make sure people can get access to wood, you know, and particularly when they're learners, you know, get those mistakes made, get learning. Right, I'm just going to look at the chat. I've done my show and tell, which it did feel a little bit like. People are starting to get off. Yeah, follow the green. Exactly, yeah, as I thought, Pete. See you later, Mark. Enjoy your dinner. I'm hungry now. Oh, thanks, Gav. I want to say I'm educating, really. So, recaps, 2 types of water, free water and bound water. Free water will leave by gravity and through evaporation. First, at the point that all of the free water is lost, you reach your wood will then try to equal. Whose teeth have I got in? Where are my glasses? I don't need a prescription that I'm aware of, but these help me think. So yeah, once the wood's reached fibre saturation point, lost all of that water that was transporting nutrients, it then starts trying to equalise its environment. So if you change its environment and you move it indoors or somewhere warm or colder or wetter, that's going to affect the rate at which it loses its moisture, which is going to affect, you know, how it cracks. So that's your main consideration there. What were my other notes? My glasses are steaming up. I can't win today. Yeah, it dries from the outside, and the wood almost sets once it's reached equilibrium with its surrounding moisture content. The centre is under pressure at that point and starts to lose its moisture, and because you've got the inside and the outside of the wood moving at a different pace, that's you know, that's why you get your cracking. And also, you know, like looking at a board of wood with the grain along it, with the end grain going, you know, this way, it will try and flatten out, so the board will cup that way. Excuse my bendy fingers. Where the grain going this way, it'd be flattening itself out that way. The same with the bowl blank. So you've cut your log in half, so you've got your grain going this way, and your bowl's going to come out of here. That blank is going to try and flatten out that way. So is that right? No, sorry, flatten out that way, of course, which is why you'll get splits along the pith or along the centre line from there. Yeah, I think I've done a bit too much reading on this today. I mistakenly looked at a couple of like proper scientific journal articles, and I get into stuff like that, and the more I read, the less I know. It's like literally, I'm really enjoying it and I'm into it, and then it all just goes and out the other side. So yeah, couldn't really help you with too much of the science, but I am going to be familiarising myself with it as I use it more, and hopefully we can do a revisit to something like this. Do you guys want to know a little bit of behind the scenes news then? As far as we've had some ideas. Oh, there's one last piece. Let me just show you this whilst you answer me that. Ideas for future videos, that is. So yeah, if you're bothered, let us know. Yeah, this was meant to be a beautiful rice caddy, so is that focused? It is now. So yeah, that held your rice. Nice thin uniform walls, base a little thick, which did crack slightly, but again a crotch piece with some beautiful grain, so it warped quite significantly. Look at that rim. It was meant to have a lid which could then be turned over and used as your bowl. And I absolutely love the design, and I am going to replicate it when I find the right blank, because I didn't go for complete uniformity, and as you can see, not a chance. It's warped to the point that it won't stay together. It's just a decorative item. Although sometimes what I do when I've got things that I'm really not happy with, or say I've just blown through the side of something and it's still together, I bung a plant in them and stick them in the garden and watch them rot, and it's really fascinating. It really is. I love it. Brings together my interest in horticulture and wood turning as well, which is good. So yeah, did you want to know? I didn't look. Oh yeah, didn't show you this one, did I? My favourite. This was after I'd turned all 46 of those bowls the other week. I decided to turn one of them straight to finish, and in the microwaving process it moved a heck of a lot, but I love it. First thing I'm going to show you is it's got a bit of an inclusion there. You see that? That wasn't there. That it all looked solid, and then all of a sudden a chunk the size of, you know, not quite my entire fist, but back of my knuckles maybe, flew off, and for the first time something went towards my face, and it seems some of my training came in and I ducked. Don't know what training, just when things come towards your face, move. But anyway, yeah, so it's got an inclusion. It started with a crack as I was turning in the rim because I went thin with it. This is a kind of slightly less aggressive shape than the other bowl, and I love it, and all it's needed is the bottom sanding flat again. But let me get you the angle right. Look at the rim. Can you see at the back there? It's just so warped. It's all over the shank. It almost looks like it's got a spout. See if we look at this one. So this was, yeah, I wanted the warp on the rim again, and I got it. It's just, it really is all over. And even from that angle you can see it's some weird shapes. But look at the grain, it's just lovely. But it sits nice and flat. Again, this was a crotch piece, and I think I'm always drawn to crotch pieces. No comments. Yeah, isn't it lovely? So yeah, that's the crack. That's what I want. I want to do more like this. With it has got some very minute cracks in it. A couple of bark inclusions, but also, I know, minute, I say, they're long, but they're very thin. You see them there? Going down towards my thumb. A couple of them. Minute, but this has got food safe oil on. This, like I mentioned, would happen. This little bit of chatoyance here, which you can feel where the wood's contracted at different rates. You can actually feel that chatoyance in this area, even though I've given this a second hand sand after it came off the lathe. But yeah, I want to do a load more like this. I really want to do. I want to nail my wet turning to stay uniform, but I want to really explore this, getting wood to, you know, really pushing it to how on earth did that one hold together. I like that. Right, so yeah, the news, not all that exciting I suppose, guys, but we've got a few series coming up. We're going to carry on with the vlog series, which is basically just me telling you what I've got going on at the time. Maybe not that interesting now, but it helps me get better at being in front of the camera, and it'll help us grow the channel in the long run. So that will give you a little behind the scenes of, you know, what day-to-day life and a week looks like, projects that I'm on with, etc. We're going to continue rotating our Saturday slot with lives and videos that we're working on, because we want to get better at doing the produced videos, and I want to get better at doing the lives, and we really want to get good at maintaining the rhythm of one a week, so that when everything picks up again, we can keep doing that for you all, and somewhere to go and chat, and hopefully in the future some more really helpful videos based around other crafts as well, wood turning. I don't know how I'm going to do it with the camera setup because it's in here, but I thought I might bring the spinning wheel in if anyone's even remotely interested in spinning wool, because I've got a load that I need to get done this year. If you're not, but you know someone that is, you know, tell them to go hit like and subscribe, and they'll get, you know, put the bell on, hit the notification thing, and if we're doing anything on spinning, they can come watch that. But the other thing we've been thinking of, and it's up in the air at the minute because of lockdown and everything, the guys whose shirt I wear in the workshop a lot, because I've done a little bit of volunteering from him in the past, and my dad works there, and I can't remember whether these are his old shirts or my old shirts, but they changed the design, and you know, I've worn them until they're all holy and everything. I like the colour though, it's like a soapy red, as I'd call it. But yeah, they're the museums there I've spent a lot of time around in as a kid, and I'd like to go in and do some tours and really reflect that on the toolmaking history of Sheffield. I've also privately, through Facebook, somebody saw a comment I made on a local forum, a bit of local history. So I'm going to be making contact with the university's local geology department in the new year. No, archaeology department in the new year, who've been doing some studying alongside the history department, and hopefully I can I'm hoping to make a series that's got a bit of meat to it, you know, that people might really want to watch, because there have been tours around those museums in past, the Sheffield Industrial Museums. But I've grown up there and I've kind of seen a lot of the old timers come through and heard a lot of the different stories, and I'd just like to go through and give my, you know, what I find interesting and inspiring about the history of Sheffield and the steel and tool industry, because there's some really good stuff in the museums, guys. And you know, if you're all technically minded, you know, it's like the Riverdon. I'll have to show you the Riverdon engine. It's, you know, it's 12,000 horsepower. You know, all the women just fell asleep. Or is that sexist? I don't know. It's not meant to be, but you know, all the non-car people just fell asleep. But 12,000 horsepower. Just, I mean, it is as big as a, you know, an house, but still. Anyway, guys, I hope some of you at least picked something up tonight, and if not, perhaps think more about how wood moves and dries. And please do what I intend to do, is every time I notice something or think of something, share it amongst the community, check us ideas off against each other, and you know, we can really grow the community's knowledge base then, and you know, we might find some interesting ways of doing things that we otherwise wouldn't. And like, I'm not going to harp on, but it's a good community. Yeah, nice to see so many people in. Thanks for all the likes, etc. But I think I'm going to have to love you and leave you. And what am I doing? Oh, I'm just going to tease something here. I've spent some of my money on a Christmas present that's both to me and to Making a Better Life, because it's going to let me develop a skill within wood turning and hopefully produce products that can bring more money to the charity, and be interesting for people, because we can look at maths and other little objects for those people that are struggling with areas like that. We can bring that into this area of turning. But I'm not going to show you what it is, I'm just going to show you the box. It's, some of you might recognise that, RS60N34. I've had a play, and guess what? I pulled it off the lathe. But that's you know, people think Rob's sometimes being a bit self-critical. That's part of his learning process. Part of my learning process is once understanding the safety considerations and doing everything to mitigate any serious damage. Once you've got yourself there and you really know it, and I'm an extra cautious person, I'm a bit of a wimp and I'd rather not do stuff, you know. There's been rides at the fun fair I've not gone on because I thought, not happy with that bolt, you know. But once you understand that and you're taking responsibility for your own actions, I push my limits, and that results in mistakes. I've done everything like keeping the lathe speed low, not being a complete ninny and keeping my fingers out of the way, safety cloth, you know, not sticking your fingers in narrow hollow forms. I nearly said something then. You know, pushing boundaries and finding where that edge is, for me, is a way of learning to get close enough to the edge to be good, or better rather. That's just how I work, and it's maybe how some of you guys work, but don't do that if you are a naturally kind of adventurous person, because you may make a serious mistake. Don't do it at all, on my word. But the other way of doing it is when you do have that inevitable catch, and when something happens, and when you stop and change your pants, pause for a second and think like, right, where exactly was I? What exactly did I do wrong? And really think about it, log it. And then the next time, remember, I'm getting close to that position again. I'm going to take it steady and take it steady. And that's how you reduce the number of catches. And yeah, I'm waffling, aren't I, guys? What are people saying? Sorry, you don't want to look up my nose. Don't even know if there's another camera to show you. Oh, Jane's off. See you, Jane. Need to talk soon and have a catch up soon as we're allowed. Can't believe it's been nearly a year. Thank you, Kaylee, for that. Bye, Jigsy. Thanks, Brian. Yeah, let's call that. I've gone on to full waffle, haven't I? Don't forget, guys, we've got and 8 over at AH Bespoke, linked in the description, on at 7:30, and Nick the Flaming Turner on at 8. So plenty of places for us to go and watch some more interesting craft and have a chat and just keep this community rolling. Yeah, I don't know what either of them are doing tonight. I'm going to try and hover between both after I've had my tea. So you all take care, look after yourself. Good night, God bless, and I'll see you next Saturday's a video. What I'm thinking of doing is doing something Christmas Day, before or after Emma, possibly. Depends what's happening. We just don't know at the minute, because we just don't know what's happening Christmas Day. Anyway,